Uh, Clerk, can you please call the roll? Everybody jump in. Okay. No per diem unless you're up there.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let me just quickly run through a couple preliminaries, and then I'm going to give my colleagues in the House a quick rundown of where they are in the queue. I have House Bill 1336, which is a farm winery bill, but really ought to be going to rehab. And so I'd entertain a motion to refer HB 1336 to rehab. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, does that need to be recorded? Okay, open the roll, please.
Ayes 8, no 0.
Okay, ayes 8, no 0. And then just very quickly, I'm looking at bills, and we're going to take these in turn, but a lot of these bills look like they're identical. House Bill 28, which is Delegate Campbell. House Bill 189, Delegate Wiebert. House Bill 463, Delegate Austin. 516 is Boulevard, though we may need to discuss that. House Bill 847 is Delegate Bloxham, but I want to keep that here for now. House Bill 1225 looks like that's identical. Okay, so those, if they're identical and they were non-controversial, you're free to leave. Okay. For the rest of you, I have Delegate Edmonds, Delegate Cardoza, Delegate Hodges, Delegate Avoli, Delegate Wyatt, Delegate Bloxham, Delegate Danny Marshall, Delegate Razul, Delegate Kilgore, Delegate Campbell, and Delegate Bulova in that order. So you want to go have a refreshment or whatever you need. Not going to take it personally. Okay, Delegate Edmonds, fire away.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Members of the committee. I have House Bill 65, which was brought to me, to my attention by the Virginia Wildlife Society. And it allows employees of DWR, USDA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or other researchers to possess nutria in order to study them more closely, to learn about where they may be congregating. If you are familiar with nutria, you know they are on the invasive species list, and they need to have this tool to be able to find out where they are. And that's the bill.
Okay. Yes, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a good bill. I just had a stupid question. Do we know how far up in Virginia they've come?
Senator Stewart, that's a good question, and maybe I should phone a friend here.
Do we have somebody here from DWR? Or? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Ryan Brown, Director of DWR. And we actually have them up in the Chickahominy River area now. They had been confined to the southeast part of the state. Fortunately, Virginia is going to be the recipient of a substantial federal grant to work with the USDA Wildlife Services to hopefully eradicate them in Virginia. They've been successful in Maryland and want to move down the Chesapeake Bay watershed to us next. And so that's really the thrust of this bill, is to allow us to, you can actually put telemetry collars on nutria to find where their colonies are. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Senator Stewart.
Ryan, are they any good for anything? I know that's a crazy question, but is the fur any good? Does anybody eat them? Is there any?
They are not high value. I don't imagine they're too good to eat. They are very good at destroying wetlands, which is something we don't happen to like very much. So removing them from the Commonwealth is a high priority of ours.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Marston.
In answer to Senator Stewart's question, their mothers love them. So.
Okay. What do they look like?
Like a muskrat.
Like a muskrat?
Yeah. Not the most attractive little critter
All
on
right.
the landscape.
Who do we have speaking in support of this bill? Anybody?
We support it.
All right, well, I'll say, is anyone here to speak on behalf of the nutria? All right, no. Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please. Okay, there's a motion and a second to report the bill. It's House Bill 65. Clerk, open the roll, please. Okay. Okay. Okay,
Ayes 11, no 0.
11-0, you're on your way.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next I have Delegate Cardoza. Yes, sir.
How you doing? I'm here to present House Bill 1112. It simply adds a multi-year option to the purchase of fishing licenses.
Okay. House Bill 1112. Okay, House Bill 1112 looks like it amends 28.2-302.2, gives you a chance, opportunity to purchase a multi-year license. I assume that would be from DWR? Department of Wildlife Resources?
Yes, yes.
Oh, saltwater. Well, is this saltwater or freshwater? Okay, all right, so this is saltwater, not freshwater. Okay. All right, any questions from the panel? Okay, anyone here to speak in support? Anyone here to speak in opposition?
If you were in the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Chair will entertain a motion. There's a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Good work.
Thank
Okay,
you.
13,
Have a good
nothing. All right, Delegate Hodges. And by the way, I have a Voley on deck.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. If you're ready, House Bill 771 requires localities in the Tidewater, Virginia region to publish on its website criteria and elements adopted by the locality concerning Chesapeake Bay preservation areas. Basically, the criteria are already in regulation, and you have certain things regarding comprehensive plan and other criteria, particularly maps and so forth as well. So you may have some areas that implement the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act in different ways, say setbacks, or whether you're cutting down trees in a certain way and site views and so forth. So this gives some consistency to contractors and homeowners with regard to localities when they're looking at this. This data is already reported to DEQ. We're just asking the localities to post it on its website so everyone knows what's actually going on.
All right, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The version I'm reading, which is House Substitute, it just has each local government in Tidewater, Virginia. Is there a reason?
It's my understanding the Tidewater, Virginia region is defined in there in these Chesapeake Bay areas, and I'm getting a nod. So
Okay.
we have that's already defined in there, and they're already reporting this information to DEQ.
Okay, follow-up question,
You
Mr.
have Senator
Chairman.
Favola.
Is there a reason why other Chess Bay areas were not included?
my
This
question. Okay.
was,
Go ahead,
I'm sorry,
sir.
Mr.
Delegate.
Chairman, I mean, this was the way we drafted it, to give some continuity in our Tidewater region.
All right, let me ask, I'm going to sort of,
Phrase it a different way.
I'm going to phrase it a different way, which
Sure.
is, don't we want all localities in
Yeah.
the Chesapeake Bay watershed to be on the same page? I mean, why should
Yeah.
say, no, we don't?
It's
That's where I was headed.
Well, hold on, well, it's just a website, right?
a website, that's all we're asking is to be posted on the website.
Camels, all
What's that?
right, all right, hold
Yeah,
on.
and if I may, Mr. Chairman, the
Yes.
the regulations are only required for these Tidewater regions as well. So we're pointing to the regulations.
Okay, I see some
So-
nodding. All right,
so-
the Director of DEQ is behind you. Mike, come forward.
So,
Senator, I thought I'd just give you some technical information.
Sure.
So Tidewater, Virginia is any locality that touches a tidal body of water or is surrounded by a locality, with two exceptions, Manassas and the city of Manassas Park and the city of Manassas. That was a typo back in 1988.
Right.
But, so that's why Loudon is not in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act area. Fairfax, Arlington, for example,
are.
are.
Well, it's every locality that's east of the fall line along all the major rivers.
Not quite. It actually goes past the fall line a little bit.
Don't make me go and rewrite the code then. Okay.
No, the code defines it, any locality that touches a tidal body of water or is surrounded by a locality that touches a tidal body of water.
Okay, all
Why don't
right.
we have that here then?
All right, so
It's in the original code.
do we have any questions from the panel? Yes, Senator Stewart.
What exactly does this mean, Keith? Elements and criteria adopted to implement its local plan as required by this article. So does that mean all the setbacks in riparian areas? Does it mean you can only cut certain amount of trees out of the 100-foot buffer? What
And
does that all encompass?
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, there are certain criteria that the localities already have to report to DEQ and regulation. And we're just asking that whatever they report to DEQ by regulation to be posted on their website.
Maybe Mike can tell us what that is.
All right, Mike, can you fill us in on that? Director Rollban?
Delegate Hodges is totally correct. So this criteria already exists, again, back to the 1988 era, and it's not changing anything. It's just simply providing the public with the ability to see it more easily, because there's 84 local governments that are covered by the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act, and it makes sense since they're all different. I mean, they have to be consistent. What's a minimum standard, or a maximum standard, actually? So it's approved by the Chesapeake Bay Department as part of DEQ, but then they can all be slightly different. So it's a little confusing for some people if you work, say, in Arlington County, then you do a job in Stafford County, and the rules are slightly different. So this way, you can go to that local county area and see what the exact criteria are. But Senator Stewart is correct. That encompasses all sorts of restrictions. For example, the resource protection area definition,
Okay.
limitations of what you can do.
Okay, anybody else in the audience want to speak on this? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion. Okay. Move to report and second. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 12, no 0, 1 abstention.
Okay, it means I got to explain it on the floor. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Delegate. All right, next we have Delegate Avoli. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I should probably sing the song for you if I could ask my good friend Senator Hanger to do it.
All right.
John Denver, country roads take me home to the place where I belong, Blue Ridge
Almost
Mountains,
heaven.
Shenandoah River. There you are.
West Virginia, well.
And what we
state,
want to
right?
do here is designate 8.8 miles at the request of the Board of Supervisors, the scenic river, and incorporate that into it. Very simple.
Okay, hold on. Now, where is this? Well, I know that.
Shenandoah County.
Shenandoah County.
North of Harrisonburg, sir.
Okay, is this North Fork, South Fork? Which?
This is the North Fork, and I fish that river, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Okay, all right. So House Bill 1223
Mr.
designating
Chairman?
Shenandoah as a scenic river. Yes, Senator
Can we
Mason.
request that version Thursday night at 9 o'clock, please?
We'll do it, sir.
Playoffs, yeah, okay. That's actually a very easy song to sing.
It is. It's known all over the world, I can
It
tell you.
is.
John Denver did a great song there.
Sung it in Japan. Okay. Any other questions from the panel? Do I have anybody in support or opposition?
If you are in the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. We have one speaker, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Powell, go ahead. Mrs. Powell.
Leighton Powell, you may unmute and begin your testimony. Ms. Powell, please unmute your mic.
I got it. Mr. Speaker, committee members, I'm Leighton Powell with Scenic Virginia, and we enthusiastically support this bill and hope that you will report it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I've got a motion and a second to report the bill. Any community dialogue on that? It is a beautiful river. All right, clerk will open the roll.
Mark's not here with me.
Yeah.
Ayes 12, no 1.
Okay, looks like 12-1 the bill passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, we next have Delegate Wyatt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I have House Bill 120 before you. House Bill 120 authorizes the Department of Wildlife Resources to offer those veterans who have sustained a service-connected disability a reduced hunting or fishing license. For a resident veteran rated at 70% or more, but less than totally permanently disability by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, a $50 license, lifetime fishing license, or hunting license, I'm sorry. For a resident rated 50 to 70%, it would go up to $75. And for a resident rated 30% or 50% to 50%, it would be $100. The Department of Wildlife Resources anticipate an indeterminate general fund. Hopefully, it would encourage folks to purchase a lifetime license as opposed to a $23 annual license. And it just another way to thank our veterans who have sustained a service-connected disability, the ability to hunt and fish within the Commonwealth.
Okay. Linwood, you had a question? Yeah, Senator Lewis.
Actually, Mr. Chair, my question is for Wildlife Resources. Somebody's here.
DWR.
There we go. So I'm going to vote for the bill because I certainly support the concept, but just for people's information, where do you all get your funding?
We are, you could call self-funded, primarily from hunting and fishing licenses and dollars associated with hunting and fishing. Now, on this particular bill, and I appreciate the nature of the question, because it's something we have to watch out for very carefully, but with this particular legislation, we work with Delegate Wyatt and don't believe there's going to be any fiscal impact to us.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you.
I've got a question. My recollection wasn't, I'm reading this, wasn't the license previously free if you were service disabled?
70%.
It's free for 100% disabled. And then the prior law had one threshold for getting a discounted license. This just creates additional thresholds for 50 and 30%. Yep, so they get a cheaper license. We do retain federal matching dollars that we get for licenses sold on which we generate revenue, which is a very key concern of ours.
Senator Morrissey.
Delegate, this essentially is catching or encompassing those individuals who have a disability, but it's just not total or 70%. Is that correct?
That's correct. In interacting with the American Legion and the VFW in my district, they have brought this to me because an individual that may be 100% disabled, they really can't go out and hunt and carry a weapon and take game. So this really allows, they have to have someone with them to maybe perform that function. So this allows those folks that have partial disabilities to, and if I go back, the dollar amount they receive from the feds is actually $36 for every license reported. So they will kind of cash neutral because they will be reporting that license annually.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Morrissey.
As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, before we didn't take care of the veterans that had a 30% or 50% disability. This bill catches those individuals and makes that allowance.
Right, so this pulls in the partially disabled. Okay. All right, anybody here to speak before the bill?
If you were in the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no online speakers, Mr. Chairman.
How about in opposition? Bill, are you coming up to speak in opposition? Okay, all right. Wasn't listening to me. Okay. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Okay, ayes 13, no zero, the bill passes.
Thank you, Chairman and
sir.
Senator.
Yep. All right, Delegate Bloxham.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There are actually two bills, and House Bill 847, the administration has asked me to take that by for the week.
Okay, so 847 goes by for the week. Okay, you got some other good ones.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1261. The bill originally took away the Citizens Board's authority to issue permits, similar to Senator Stewart's. We're going to strike all of that from this bill and just worry about the way that the members of the boards are appointed. So what this bill does now is directs how the boards are, how the specific boards at DEQ are appointed.
Okay, hold on one second, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Can we get the substitute?
Second.
Okay, substitute, motion and a second to adopt substitute, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, substitute's in front of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what this bill does now is how the boards will be appointed. The governor will have 2 members, the Senate gets 2, and the House gets 3. And the reason for this is a lot, tradition. And the reason for this, from my point of view, is a good, it's a good government bill. The only way that we will know if there's a problem, is if the membership now tells the governor, because they're the only ones he answers to. This would actually give us some direct correlation to the boards. So I think this is a good.
Just to set the stage, the 1261 in terms of how it impacts the role of the board and their authority has gone away.
Yes, sir, Mr.
And now
Chairman.
we're solely dealing with membership.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
The way Senator Stewart's bill worked with Senator Mason, Senator Lewis, I think to craft his bill is acceptable to me. So we didn't want to have conflicting language. We stripped all of that out. This only deals with nomination of the boards.
All right, so the policy choice is, right now it's the governor.
The governor gets to appoint everyone
all
on the
7.
board on a rotating basis. This actually gives us some input and gives us a direct line.
Okay, us being the General Assembly. Okay. All right, any questions from the panel?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, Senator Suderline.
So these aren't delegates or senators, it would be appointees?
No, sir. It'd be a citizen member still, but it would be,
So in the same way, there's no argument that there's so many more delegates and so many more senators, so to represent each body, we need more delegates. This would simply be, we're giving, well, it said 3 to me.
3 and 2.
3 and 2, okay.
So this would be for no reason other than we just let the House have 3 and the Senate have 2?
tradition is what that is. Plus, you also need an odd number. You need an odd number for the vote, any vote that they take on the.
Would it be welcome to reverse that?
It would be your pleasure, but it would also be reversed on the other way.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. So your bill has 2 from the governor.
Yes, sir.
2 from the center and 3 from the House.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Before we make the inevitable criticisms, let's see if there's anybody in support from the audience. Anybody in support of this bill? Okay, opposition? Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Patrick Fanning with Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We would oppose this change to the appointment process. Just would, we feel, inject some additional politics into the process and take away from the independence of the board members. So we would oppose the changes. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else have an opinion on this?
Mr. Chairman, we have several online speakers.
Okay, are they speaking to this version or are they speaking to the original version? All right. All right, why don't we go ahead and hear from the folks online. Keep it brief.
Frida Cathcart, you may unmute and begin your testimony. Pat Calvert, you'll be next.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. I would ask for the Senate to pause the forward motion of this bill with a reenactment clause. I think that this is moving too closely, and to do a substitute all of a sudden that changes the point of the bill doesn't give the chance of the citizens to be able to digest the changes and how that affects. A reenactment clause would just pause it. I was very concerned at the last committee meeting that addressed these issues. It was Stewart's bill that it was hard to participate, and it seems like the crux of this came about because of being unhappy with Air Pollution Control Board's proper oversight of the DEQ. And I just wanted to take an opportunity, it's brief, to amplify Congressman Morgan Griffith, a Republican congressman from Southwest Virginia who represents us, and the bad regulatory oversight from FERC, as well as, and FERC, when they responded to it, said it was up to the DEQ to do this part of it. But what Congressman Griffith was concerned about that our DEQ did not address was, he said, I'm not against pipelines in general, but I'm frustrated with the process. MVP has not done the things they ought to have done to prepare and inform the community.
Frida?
For example, I'm just really,
Yes, ma'am.
I only have like 30 more seconds, please. For example, he said technology is available to cover pipes with foam to detect leaks, as well as lay fiber optic cable on top to monitor activities around the pipe, including temperature and any movement. The technology is out there. He said, why aren't they using that? And because they weren't using the updated technology is why the Air Pollution Control Board denied that permit. So I would ask that the Senate pause the bill and not move forward on something without being able to take into consideration all that's happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frida. And those are some great comments. I just don't want people to be under any illusion. The Stewart bill has already passed this body. It's over on the other side. And the bill we have in front of us really only deals with membership, who selects the membership to the Air and Water Board. So Frida
But it was changed within the last 24 hours, and the citizens haven't had a chance to respond to it. So that still holds.
Frida, fair point. Okay. Next, Pat Calvert, please.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Pat Calvert on behalf of Virginia Conservation Network. I'll keep it brief. For the reasons stated by Mr. Fanning, we have to oppose this legislation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, anybody else want to speak for or against this bill?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I was trying to get through. You guys moved a little fast. Kyle Shreve on behalf of the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We support the bill to even out the composition of the board. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Stewart.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just make an observation, what Delegate Bloxham is trying to do actually helps the process, because it appears to me he's trying to remove some of the politics from these appointments, and in my opinion, that's a good thing, and it's spreading it around amongst the breadth of the different parts. I sense some consternation from some of the members from the fact that the House has more appointments than the Senate, and so I'm wondering if it would be an acceptable way just to give the governor 3 appointments rather than 2, and then both the House and the Senate would each appoint 2, and maybe we could adopt that new tradition where we just kind of
all right.
Do the
Is
same.
that a motion?
That's a motion. That's an
I've
amendment.
got a motion and a second to take the Senate to 3 and the governor to 3 and the House down to 2. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so now we have the bill with 3 from the governor, 2 from the Senate, 2 from the House.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's basically just a policy choice. Do we want the General Assembly making 4 of these 7 picks as opposed to the governor making all 7 picks?
Right, and in closing, Mr. Chairman, all I'd say is that I'm trying to take the big swings out of it. But businesses can't stand big swings one way or the other, whether it's pro-business or pro-environment. You know, they just need to know what the rules are and go to the rules.
Okay, I need a motion on the bill, guys.
Move to report as
Okay,
amended.
move to report as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you, Delegate. Okay, bill report's 13 to 2. Okay, next I have Delegate Danny Marshall.
I like the way you do Danny Marshall, so nobody gets Robert Marshall and me
Well, I was
confused.
say it's old habits die hard. Class of 2001 in the House.
So a few of you were not here when Robert Marshall was here, so that's another story, another day. House Bill 184. This proposed legislation does not change and impact any environmental regulations or weaken the intent of the Virginia Stormwater Management Program or addressing water quality and quantity. This proposed legislation reduces the workload and burden of an already overstressed DEQ. The reduction of permit reviews and approval of the DEQ team enables other permits located within non-stormwater administrating locales to be reviewed faster. This proposed legislation does not change or impact the checks and balances of ensuring Virginia Stormwater Management Program best practices, inspections, and regulations are being met since the DEQ staff audits all local Virginia Stormwater Management Programs. This is mainly brought by the regional industrial authorities. There are 10 current RFRAs in the state. 2 more are coming online. And so this is just a process where the RFRA is in our part of the state is 2 or either more localities go in for economic development on a particular piece of property. So that's what the
Okay,
bill does.
so a RIFA is a Regional Industrial Facility Authority.
Yes, and there's 10 of them in the state now, 2 more online.
And they can what, issue bonds and what do they do?
Well, so what they do is, in my part of the state, in Ruff's and Stanley's part of the state, they buy land.
Right.
They bring all the utilities into that.
Okay.
And then, so it depends on if the locality, if one's in Pittsylvania County, then Pittsylvania County would move forward with the permits. If it's in the city of Danville, then city of Danville would move forward with the permits. But what they have been having to do in the past is both of them, since you have 2 localities, have to still apply for the permit. So instead of, it just brings it down to whichever locality the permit is being generated from would suffice for both localities.
Okay, seems pretty straightforward. Any questions from the panel? All right, anyone support? Anyone in opposition?
If you are on the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion. Okay, clerk, there's a motion, a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
All righty. Delegate Brazil.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. If I can bring your attention to House Bill 323. Last year, the General Assembly created the Local Food and Farming Infrastructure Grant Program, which VDAX has administered over the past year with some great success. A number of different programs around the Commonwealth have been able to help localities fund some programs that help local farmers get their products to market faster. We've had some canneries, meat process improvements, farmers markets that have been able to be supported here. What this bill does this year, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, is it says that a locality can, instead of the maximum that they can apply for out of the APHID grant program, $25,000, it can be up to $50,000 that they can apply for. And I know that there are a few organizations who are here to speak in favor as well.
All right. Any questions from the panel? All right, those in support? That's a good question.
Mr. Chairman, Kyle Shreve on behalf of the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We do support the bill. It's going to help us, especially with a focus on some of our meat processing facilities that we're looking to undertake. Having that grant program be able to support more investment on certain projects is going to be helpful in that effort. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Stephanie Talon with Virginia Farm Bureau. We do support the program and the bill. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Chris Lane, Virginia League of Conservation Voters. We support the bill.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, opposition. Okay, looks like no one's coming forward.
Mr. Chairman, we do have one online speaker, I believe,
Sure.
in support.
Go
Pat
ahead.
Calvert, you may unmute and begin your testimony.
Chair Pat Keller, on behalf of Virginia Conservation Network, we're in support of this bill. Thank the patron for bringing it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll. Okay,
Ayes
Sam.
15, no zero.
You're
All
good.
right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay. I have Delegate Kilgore.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Got
Good to
House
see
Bill
you.
892. I think I have an amendment, a couple of amendments on that.
Okay, 892, which one is that?
That is it's a bill dealing with Reggie, deals with that one company up in Doswell.
Okay, this is the
Energy
LS
Center.
Power. Okay,
Yes.
so, and we've had this, but you have an amendment.
Right.
If the clerk could distribute the amendment, please.
Mr. Chairman, the amendments are straightforward, so I'll read them, if
Okay.
that's okay. The amendment is on line 68, after allowances per year, the first instance of that, strike 2021 and And then on line 73, after the reserve account period, strike the remainder of that paragraph.
So what those amendments do, Mr. Chairman, is it takes out the, we don't have to go back and give and rebate any monies. What it
Right.
means is it goes forward to 2025. So that's basically what it
And I
does.
think from my chitter chatter with the advocates, that takes about half of the financial hit out of the bill.
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, yes.
Okay.
Mr.
That'll be
Chairman.
the day.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Not yet, right?
Chap is fine. All right. All right, any questions from the panel? I know we're getting a lot of people who want to speak on this. Any questions from the panel right now? Okay, people in support. B, come forward.
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't aware that we were doing more testimony, but obviously we have heard from you all, and we know that you all are somewhat sympathetic to our plight, and so removing that $20 million was also the request of DEQ, so we've been working with them as well, and hopefully that this sunsets in 2025, and it's a fairness issue for us, and we just hope that
Okay.
we can move it over to finance. Thank
And
you.
by the way, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm really looking for comments about how the amendment makes the bill differently. And
The amendment just takes, our biggest hits are in 2021, 2022.
Right.
20 million, 2021, 20 million, 2022. Then it goes down to
Because most of your
$3.8 million
PPAs
to
start in
25. Yes.
timeout.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank
all
you,
right.
sir.
Okay, let's hear from the opposition, and again, let's focus on the amendment. I know your position on the underlying bill.
Good afternoon, Nate Benfrado, Southern Environmental Law Center. We certainly appreciate the step, but we still don't support this. It's still a large fiscal impact, and fundamentally, we think that this issue has already been considered 2 years ago and multiple votes back then. We think Ellis Power had the opportunity to protect itself in its contract. It didn't do so, and we don't think it's this body's job to bail them out.
Got it, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. As my colleague Nate said, anything that undermines the RGGI program and further decreases the critical funding that this program brings that is already not enough to get the job done is a threat to what this body has been trying to do in passing RGGI in the first place. So we ask you to oppose the bill. And, climate cabinet, sorry, forgot that part.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Just took, Connor Kish with the Sierra Club, just took a quick glance at the amendment, but still with the amendment, we would oppose the bill.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Peter Anderson with Appalachian Voices. For the reasons previously stated by my colleagues, we also oppose the bill.
Okay. All right, yes.
Last one. Christian Martinez, Advocacy Specialist for CASA, and we oppose this bill.
Okay. I know a question came up before, Delegate, this issue of buying and selling credits. How has that changed, or is that changed from the earlier bill?
Well, what happens is this one is that the way it changes with the amendment we put on, it takes, we're not going back and we're not reimbursing them the 20 million that they've already lost, but we would be doing the 20 million this year. And I think we've included that in our House budget to move forward in our House side. I probably y'all didn't do that on the Senate side,
Well,
but we
it's not
did.
in the general, coming from the general fund, is it? It's coming from RGGI.
Well, I think it's in, I think we considered that in our House budget.
This is another
Yeah.
amendment to address that.
Yeah, and it wouldn't allow them to trade it or sell or trade any allowances
sell,
either.
okay.
So it would put a collar around the company.
Okay. All right, any questions from
That's
the
one I didn't
panel?
find.
I know we heard this, and where will this, if this bill passes out of here, where does it go next? Finance. okay.
Finance, yes.
All right, well, we've heard this at length.
I'm not going to talk anymore.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm going to give it a very light green, and just to sort of push it on to finance. That is by no means a final determination,
understand.
but we'll see if you can get it from there. All right, clerk, open the roll, please. Oh, is there a motion? Okay, we have a motion, and a second report. Clerk, open the roll, please.
I'll need it.
Yep, report and refer to finance is the motion.
Ayes 9, no 6.
All right.
You have to fight another day.
Couple light greens up there. Okay.
Light greens.
Light greens. All right, what else do you have?
This,
Delta?
well, this next one does away with the whole Reggie program, just like Senator Stewart. And we'll be arguing about this in the budget, Mr. Chairman. We've included that in our budget. We took it out in our budget, so we'll be arguing about that in the budget. So I understand how the fate is on this one. I'm not going to stand here and
Okay, I
waste
think
your
it's
time.
fair to say we don't need to take testimony on this. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
No, that's all right, all right. Why don't we just, Chair will entertain a motion. All right, substitute motion. All right, I have a substitute motion and a second to pass by indefinitely the bill. Clerk, open the roll, please.
Got to be realistic about this stuff. Thank you all.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Oh, my good friend Joe.
All right, thank you,
all.
Delegate. Yep, good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Delegate Campbell. Is he here? Okay, I'm just going right down the list. I've got Bulova, Reed, and Don Scott in that order. So, David Bulova.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The first, I got 3 bills before you. The first one is House Bill 516. I believe this one's identical to Senator Marsden's 551, and so this is the one designed to go ahead and strengthen the state planning process with respect to coastal resiliency so that we're basing our funding decisions on the best data possible. So I can go into a little bit more detail.
Why
if
don't
you're
you just
interested.
at least give us a summary, because there was a contested vote on the floor.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chair. So the bill has 3 key components. The first one is to make sure that the new coastal resilience master plan that we put a lot of money in actually stays a living document. For this planner, there's nothing worse, quite honestly, than having a really good plan, go ahead and set it on a shelf. And so this basically codifies the review and update process for that plan, again, to make sure that it's a living document. The second one, I think this is equally as important, is to go ahead and take that planning process to deal with inland flooding issues. And so when we're dealing with resilience issues, it's not just sea level rise, not just coastal issues. We're also dealing with inland flooding issues. And so this is actually something that we were supposed to do in 2015. It was a bill from Delegate Stolle to go ahead and have DCR do an inland flooding study. They never did that. And so this just goes ahead and sets some timelines for them to go ahead and put that together. And the last thing is it directs DCR to develop a community outreach plan to better engage communities in the decision-making process. I think it strengthens the overall decisions when you're going ahead and getting as many people involved in those conversations. But, Mr. Chair, that's what the bill does.
Okay. Any questions from the panel? And I do think we had this bill. Dave, was this your bill? Okay, we had this bill from Senator Marsden. Okay, anyone to speak in support and opposite, or anyone speak in support? We have heard it before, so I see somebody coming up.
Sierra Club supports.
Sierra Club supports, okay. Any opposition?
Oh, wait. If you were in the Zoom room and would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically. We have several online speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, what I suggest, if you're an online speaker, just tell us your name, any organization you represent, and a yes or no on the bill.
Morgan Butler, you may unmute and begin your testimony. Zachary Sheldon, you'll be next.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. My name is Morgan Butler. I'm with the Southern Environmental Law Center, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Zachary Sheldon with the Nature Conservancy. We support the legislation.
Go Finns.
Jay Ford, you may unmute and begin your testimony.
Jay Ford, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We also support the legislation.
Thank you.
Pat Calvert, you may unmute and begin your testimony.
Mr. Chair, Pat Calvert, Virginia Conservation Network. We also support the legislation.
Thank you, Pat.
That concludes our speakers, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
hold on, any opposition? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
Most excellent bill. Move to report.
Okay, move to report, says second. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Okay, 9-6.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next one, and thank you, is House Bill 1224. This is a new one before you, so I'll go through exactly what this does. So back in 2020, I had carried a bill designed to make sure that proprietary stormwater management structures actually met the stated pollutant reductions. And so these are BMPs that are manufactured by companies, often for very, very tight spaces. And so because they are proprietary, it's the responsibility for those businesses to go ahead and prove that they go ahead and meet certain specifications and pollutant reduction standards to go ahead and meet our regulations. The process for accepting one of these proprietary BMPs is twofold. So you've got the verification process. That's kind of the scientific data, the water quality monitoring that you go ahead and put together. And the second part is the certification process. And so that's when you've got a regulatory agency saying, hey, based on that water quality data, that these are sufficient to go ahead and meet our stormwater water quality requirements. Originally, Virginia had anticipated that it would have a verification and a certification program. That did not pan out and actually created a lot of problems in terms of consistency for these things. And so what we did back in 2020 was say, hey, if Virginia doesn't have its own program, we need to rely on some other national, state, or regional program for certification and verification. And there's only 2 programs right now in the country that do this, and so that is Washington State and New Jersey. However, it turns out that the National Municipal Stormwater Alliance is developing their own national verification program. The problem is it's verification only and doesn't have a certification component, which means we wouldn't be able to take advantage of what I think is a really good thing to go ahead and have a national program. Having our own certification program probably makes sense anyways, so the science and the water quality data, that's one thing. But it really is kind of our responsibility in Virginia for DEQ to go ahead and say, hey, this verified data can be applied to go ahead and meet our very specific stormwater management regulations. And so that's what the bill does. I believe DEQ agrees with that approach. They're very helpful on the House side in terms of crafting this. Would, if it's the will of the committee, would like to have an emergency clause placed on this. That 2020 legislation actually had a January 1, 2022 deadline where you had a number of proprietary BMPs that were on the list fall off of it. Not all of those are going to be able to get back on, but there are a couple of them that couldn't be certified just because of the nature of those particular BMPs. And so having an emergency clause will allow DEQ to go ahead and get started a little bit faster in terms of developing a certification program.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Delegate. Any questions from the panel? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to put on an emergency clause.
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion, a second to add an emergency clause to this bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the emergency clause is on. DEQ, Mike, you got a position on this?
Thank you. DEQ supports this as amended and with the emergency clause.
Okay, all right. All right, anyone else want to speak on this bill, pro or con?
If you are in the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no online speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to report as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Okay, ayes 15, no zero. All right, that's it, David?
I got one more.
One more, okay.
Hopefully, so this is House Bill 1225. This is identical to Senator Favola's Senate Bill 13. And so what this does is it deals with energy efficiency performance-based contracting involving rooftop solar. And so this section of the code was updated in 2017 to allow for energy conservation measures. It also had a prohibition at that time in terms of being able to use the act for rooftop replacement. That had the unintended consequence of putting a bit of a chill factor on rooftop solar, because when you think about it, it's often the case where if you're going to do rooftop solar that you're going to have to engage in some level of rooftop replacement. And so what this bill does is it fixes that unintended consequence. I think that the bigger question or issue was, let's say you have a contract and you're doing rooftop solar, it doesn't involve roof replacement, and then halfway through, you realize, oops, I really need to go ahead and do that. So it allows for a change order, but in order to maintain competitiveness, because I think that was the big question or issue, you do have to go through the Public Procurement Act, and you do have to go ahead and put it up on DGS's EVA solicitation site. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's the bill. I believe there was Peace and Valley among the
Yeah,
stakeholders.
I think this bill crept out of here pretty easily before crossover. Any questions from the panel? This is identical to a bill we passed 12. Okay, we got a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll. All right.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Open machine's getting soft. Okay.
All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, next, I've got David. David, I do have you. I don't have Delegate Campbell. Is he not here? Okay, Delegate Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the
Delegate
committee.
Scott, you're next.
So before you is House Bill 850, which creates a Lyme disease education and awareness program. There's two parts to this piece of legislation. The first section directs DCR to create signage at the 41 state parks around the Commonwealth that would help individuals know how to prevent tick bites, to identify Lyme disease, and where to be able to seek treatment. The second part of the legislation directs the Virginia Department of Education to develop an educational program that would then be made available to schools and libraries. It provides an outline of what shall be included in it and what could possibly be included in it as well, and directs that it should be age appropriate and that it is available as an option to the school systems as well as libraries. Just a little bit of background on this. In the last 10 years in the state of Virginia, there's been about 16,000 cases of Lyme disease across the Commonwealth. And this is something that earlier, probably in the kind of 2010 range, seemed to be predominantly something that was in Northern Virginia. It is now kind of spread throughout the entire Commonwealth, where one of the areas with the greatest amount of infection on a per capita basis is now in the New River Valley. So this is something that actually is affecting people all across the Commonwealth, and that's the gist of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Was there a budget impact on this?
The groups have indicated that there was a de minimis impact and that they could absorb the cost within their current budget.
And that would be like DCR, basically?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions from the panel? All right, any support? Anyone here to speak in support? Anyone to speak in opposition?
If you are on the Zoom room and would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand now. We have several online speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if you're a speaker online, just tell us your name, your group, and whether or not you support the bill. Thanks.
Maureen Crystal, you may unmute and begin your testimony. Greg Skall, you will be next.
Okay. Maureen?
Ms. Crystal, please unmute.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Maureen Crystal, and I'm here to support HB 850. I presented with classic Lyme symptoms 17 years ago, and I was it has irreparably destroyed my life in every possible way. As I grew sicker and sicker and sought help from 23 doctors, half of whom were on the Washingtonian's top doc list, I was never given an accurate diagnosis, and I was repeatedly told there was nothing wrong with me.
Okay, Maureen, I think you're going to be good, so I assume you support.
I support the bill. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Veronica Hohenstein.
Yes, my name is Veronica Hohenstein with the National Capital Lyme Disease Association, and I fully support this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Veronica. Okay, Greg Skall. Greg?
Mr. Skall, please unmute your microphone.
Okay, if he's...
I thought it was unmuted. My name is Greg Skall. I live in Northern Virginia, and I've served as legal counsel to the National Capital Lyme Disease Association for over 20 years. Our children thrive on outdoor...
Just support or don't support, just that simple.
Support it.
Thank you. All right, Monty Skall. Monty, you there?
Monty Skall, please unmute your microphone.
Okay, I think we get the gist of it. All right. Okay, does this need to go to finance? No, I see a no. All right, so report and refer to the Senate. All right. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll. I guess so.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Okay, Delegate Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Yep.
members.
Afternoon, Mr. Chair, members.
Yes, sir.
Very simple bill. HB 562 is a bill from the Code Commission that basically just sets out parts in the code amendments for clarity sections at 28.2, entitled 62.1. Makes some technical revisions to the description of the historic falls of the James State Senate River, recommendation of the Virginia Code Commission. No substantive changes to any language, just language to set out and make it clear as a result of the Code Commission's duty to make the review of the code more clearer and more and less ambiguous. And that is what the bill does.
You're excited about this, aren't you?
I'm excited as those folks that were talking about Lyme disease that almost put Senator Sutherland in a deep coma.
Right. Okay, any questions for the panel? Senator Morrissey.
Good afternoon, Delegate Scott.
Uh-oh. Good afternoon.
Is this the first time you appeared before the Agriculture Committee?
It probably is. And I'm an Aggie, which is bad.
Oh, my gosh.
I've got a couple of questions. You represent the peninsula area of Portsmouth, correct?
There is no peninsula area in Portsmouth, a good trick question.
What area of the Commonwealth do you represent?
The city of Portsmouth, sir.
Okay. I could understand the portion of the bill dealing with the emergency sand grading activities in Virginia Beach. I can understand the section dealing with the wetlands in Virginia Beach. And I can also understand your concern about prohibiting sewage discharge in the city of Virginia Beach. Can you tell me what your interest is in the following areas? The Guest River in Wise County? What's a Portsmouth resident interested in Guest River in Wise County?
Mr. Chair, I'll respond to the good senator as I prepare to start thinking about my statewide campaign.
There you go.
No.
Statewide.
I'm joking. No, this is just cleanup for the code language.
Okay.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Senator Morrissey.
I do a lot of skiing on the...
Mr. Chair, I hate to interrupt, but I think there's a hazing.
Oh, you know what?
provision
This
coming up
may be
next.
a class 1 misdemeanor for hazing. All right.
Final question. You mentioned a portion of Bocher's Dam in the Richmond area. Can you tell the panel where Bocher's Dam is located? And is there any water skiing available between Bocher's Dam and Dutch Gap?
Mr. Chair, I'll respond to the senator.
Yes,
Having
please.
seen his calendar with his photos, I'm sure some of those photos do in fact include Bocher's Dam, and I'm sure he had a very good time jet skiing on that waterway.
I thank the delegate, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good. Did his homework. I got a question.
Oh, God.
We define the word emergency in lines 78 through 82 as a sudden and unforeseeable occurrence or condition of such disastrous severity or magnitude that governmental action beyond that authorized by existing law is required because governmental inaction for the period required to amend the law to meet the exigency would cause immediate and irrevocable harm to the citizens or a portion of the citizenry of the Commonwealth. Lisa, is that standard throughout the code, that language?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's standard, but where this language came from is that it's currently law but not codified in code. And so all this bill is doing is taking some sections that are sort of hiding in the acts and codifying them.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a new definition, even though it looks like.
Well, I was going to say, does it look a little bit like the definition in Title 44, which is the governor's emergency powers?
I haven't compared it word for
All
word.
right, all right.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, you see where I'm going.
Let it go. Move on.
All right. Okay. Got enough. Okay, any other question from the panel? Okay, I got a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion, a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Ayes 15, no
On your
zero.
way.
Thank
Good
you,
work.
Senator Stewart.
Yes, sir. Okay, I have, is Delegate Campbell? Anybody have, what bill is that? Who's his senator? Chu, isn't he, Travis?
No, Ronnie.
Ronnie's what, Lynchburg? All right, why don't we take about a five, is it just a scenic river? Okay, we got it. All right, scenic river, what's the bill number?
House Bill 28.
Okay, you know what? He probably just bailed because I probably told him it was fine. All right. Yeah, it's identical to deeds. Okay. So House Bill 28 is the Maury River. It's a scenic river designation. It was exact same as deeds, which we passed on a 13-2 vote from this committee. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Report to bill. Clerk, open the roll. All right.
Senator Mason.
Okay, clerk.
Ayes 12, noes 2.
Ayes 12, noes 2. That bill passes. All right, what else do we have?
1067, delegate, it is identical to my bill that reported unanimously.
Okay, let's take that up.
Senate Finance, unanimously.
Okay, Senator Stewart has reminded me that we have House Bill 1067 was the Enhanced Nutrient Removal Program for Fredericksburg that reported out unanimously a few weeks ago, and Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to report and
Okay.
refer to Senate Finance.
Okay, we've got a motion, and a second to report and refer to Finance. Clerk, open the roll. Okay, that's on its way.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Okay, what have we not dealt with? We got everything on this calendar? Oh, aquaculture. Okay, House Bill 189 is identical to Senate Bill 509 Stewart, which is the right to use and occupy ground for the terms of a lease, including the right to propagate shellfish. Okay, we have a motion and a second to report the bill that we reported unanimously a couple weeks ago. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes
Chair?
15, no 0.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
What do we
Senator
do-
Morrissey.
What do we do with HB 49?
HB 49, James River. Oh, you know what? Let's call that one up. Did we did not have an identical. You want to give, who cares what Obenshain thinks? Okay. Why don't we do this? Because I did have someone who brought up an issue to me on this bill, and wasn't me. Okay. All right. Why don't we do this? Can you call Delegate Ferris? Why don't we take a 5-minute break? All right. I'm sorry, but if I have an issue, I got to have him here. So let's take a 5-minute break. You can call Delegate Ferris. Somebody ready to speak, sir? Okay, what's the other? All right, I'll take that up. Boat ramps, okay. Okay, that'll be easy. Do you, any luck catching him, Lisa? Okay. Yeah, it's got some weird language on 62 through 65. Shall preclude.
No, it does.
Push vote. We still have Austin bill. House Bill 463. So that's the last two.
Yep, we got the boat ramps.
And I just spoke with Delegate Ferris's AA, and she said she doesn't know where he is, but she thinks that he's out on personal business.
Okay, all right, let's, all right, I'm gonna call this committee back to attention. Well, a couple things. We had one other leftover bill, boat ramps. And what's the number, 463? Okay, that was the same, it looks like the same as John Edwards' bill. And does that have to go to Senate Finance?
Yes, sir.
No, okay, so I'll entertain a motion. Okay, clerk, we have a motion, a second to report the bill. Clerk, open the roll. This is 463. Okay, that's boat ramps. Okay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. That bill passes. On House Bill 49, I'm going to carry that over a week. Delegate Ferris isn't on campus right now, and I've just got a question about this language on 62 through 65. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And so we'll carry that over for the week without objection. Oh, you got it. Right. Senator Morse has questions also. Okay, that's all the business we have today. We'll see you tomorrow.